To be able to advance in any awakening practice, things I've said before, and I'm going to say it again here, are very, very important. And I'm going to explain why they're important. First of all, one of the things that is very important is we must let go of our beliefs and our fears. This is very, very important because we can see this in many people who channel and mediums and things like this. And you'll find conspiracy theorist, influencer channelers that manage to channel information that aligns exactly with what they believe. And then you'll have other people, let's say they might be of a particular religion, and so they will be presented with images that just happen to align with their religion and their beliefs. But yet someone of another religion will have it presented to them that aligns with their beliefs and their religion. So how is it that we know that something is correct if they're saying different things, or they think they're saying different things? When mediums live off fear and worry and because it sells well, or when, as I say, conspiracy theorist channelists go on a remote viewing and see exactly what they believe, it's like, how is this possible that everything just happens to be exactly how my beliefs think it is? How awakened are you if that happens? So we must let go of our fears and our beliefs. And the other thing that is vitally important, or another thing, is to question everything, because this will help us. So as you're going down your awakening path, if you see something that happens to align with your beliefs, question it. Because the probability is you're not nearly as awake as you think you are. You're just having your subconscious mind feed you your beliefs. That's, again, not very awake, is it? Because if the ultimate states of being awake are non-dual, then how can dualistic ideas be anything close to awakening? The other thing that is vitally, vitally, vitally important here is the ability to be able to visualize. Franz Barden talked about this. Now, to be able to visualize is not the same as being able to imagine stuff, but we practice visualization through imagination. If we do not have the ability to visualize, we get to a certain point that all we can do is feel. Yet feeling has its limitations. And the subtleties and the nuances of those feelings we're not going to be able to interpret accurately. With visualization combined with feelings, so feelings can be translated into visualizations for us to be able to interpret them. But we have to have the ability to visualize to be able to see them. Therefore, practicing this, and it can be very simple things like you look at a pencil, you close your eyes, and then you try and recreate that pencil in your mind's eye. But not generally, very, very, very specifically. Details matter. For most people, when they begin to do this, they might only get a split second of the pencil. maybe the colors, none of the writing on it or anything like that. But with practice, you'll be able to hold it for longer. You'll be able to hold more complex images in your mind, various images in your mind. So once we've let go of fears, once we've let go of our beliefs, once we have the ability to question everything, and we can visualize things, as we go down the awakening path, once we pass the healing stages, once we pass, and we're able to connect higher, we may at first be presented with images that we can relate to or we believe. Okay, fair enough, let them go. Because you know that is very simply just your subconscious mind playing tricks on you. When we start to be presented with things that are not of a third dimensional reality and standard beliefs and practices, this is when we know we're going deeper. When we are presented with, the best way to describe it is a language. But it's more like the language of mathematics than it is language, English, French, German, Japanese. And so it's a language that we then have to learn to comprehend and understand, although perhaps not knowing every single comma and verb of that language. And when people get to the stage that they can do this, it is amazing that people from every walk of life, every culture, I work with people from all over the world, from all different cultures, from all different belief systems. And yet they start to have the same things, patterns that repeat. And this is where we really start to see the other side of this, beyond the beliefs, beyond the fears, through repetition and repetition. Now, granted, some people will see things represented in certain ways that are partially based on not necessarily their beliefs, but what has been programmed into them. And that is fine because they can be interpreted. This is why it's very good to work with masters, teachers that understand these things, because they can be, not give you the answers, they can be a map to help you understand. There are many people in this world that talk of, at a certain point, everything becomes a paradox. Yet there are no paradoxes. A paradox simply means something that seems to go against logic, or one thing tends to contradict the other. But this is simply, it's not a paradox, it's simply a lack of understanding. It is two things that have a reason to be there, yet we don't quite understand. I'll give you a simple example of this. Something is hot, something is cold, right? A very simple idea. But if you go out in the cold and your hands get cold, and then you put your hands under cold water, it seems hot. Now we know why this happens, because it is from our perspective of the temperature of our body and the translation, the interpretation of that temperature to our body. This isn't a paradox. Just as anyone who talks about paradoxes is simply explaining things from that point that they don't understand, that if your hand's cold and the water's slightly warmer, so they will call it a paradox. But it's not. It's simply they do not understand the reasons behind it. This is why we must always be careful with who we work with. Because to follow the belief of paradoxes, to follow the belief of good and evil when it comes to visions and entities and all that stuff out there, as I've mentioned in previous videos, is nothing but our subconscious minds feeding us information to qualify what we think is real that leads to an enhanced belief of our position. And that is a matrix trap. When we start to be given, as we awaken, things that we do not understand, things that we do not comprehend, and we are able to sit without judgment, and we give these things time, that is when we can start to truly discern things rather than qualify things based on our beliefs. If you only speak French and you didn't understand that other people in other countries spoke other languages, and one day you suddenly woke up in Japan, you wouldn't understand a single thing they're saying. And if you judged it, you would say, oh, this is gobbledygook, this is nonsense, these people don't speak a language. And this has happened through history. Certain cultures have whistling languages and things like that, and say, oh, it's gobbledygook, they're just... This does not mean to say it's not a language. And if you just sit with it and are patient with it, eventually you'll begin to understand that language, as long as we do not judge it. It's the same principle. So if you really want to go deep, if you really want to awaken, understand visualization is a necessary tool. The rising of, dare I say it, Shakti, energy, to connect with Shiva consciousness is a very powerful tool. And when we combine these things, this is when we can truly get into the depths of awakening, as opposed to simply just healing and qualifying our own beliefs to make us feel better and satisfy our own egos. Because whilst it's satisfying our own ego, yeah, that's a very dangerous path. If you feel like this doesn't resonate with you, all good. Perhaps you're just not ready to release your ego. You want to live in your belief system. You want to live in your matrix. That's all good. That's for some people. However, if you're ready to put in the work, visualizing, learning about the energies, releasing your beliefs, your shadows, the imprints bestowed upon you, come join me at theawakeningenergy.com. I'll see you in another video.